my hand, no hesitating. Oh, when you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Fearless, we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Fearless, we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Okay, I think we're on the air, and it's daylight savings time. It's a little cloudy today. It was beautiful this morning, then it got cloudy, and so if there wasn't clouds, I think there would still be sunlight coming in here, but it's a little bit darker. But it's brighter than last week, so I hope you are all doing well. And today we're going to talk about, should I renovate before I sell? Very important question. And there may be not one right or wrong complete answer to this. This is a tough one. So let's just do a little preview and we'll go right into the matter. All right. Before I really start, I made mention last week that for one client, they gave me about 20 homes, and I looked them up, and the majority of them, I think there was like one or two only available, but were either in contract already or they are in pending status. Now, let me just go over that because there is a difference. When a house goes into contract, we have a ratified contract. So both the buyer and the seller are in agreement. But most times, there's a contingency on it. And that contingency is usually a home inspection. All right. So you are in agreement as for the terms of the contract, the price, and if you're asking for any closing costs, there could be other things that are set up in the contract, and you are ratified. But it's based upon or contingent upon a home inspection. Now, the home inspection is important to the buyer, and they should have that, even in this very competitive market that we're having right now. And the home inspection or the home inspector will go in, and they will check the whole house, tooth and nail. It's different from an appraiser. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But the home inspector, my focus keeps on going in and out. Let me get a little bit closer. But the home inspector will go in and they'll check all electrical outlets. They'll look at the foundation. They'll go into the crawl space, if it has a crawl space. They'll see if there's any damage underneath the house. They will check all appliances. They will go on the roof. They will check the roof. They will see if there's any defects in the roof. They'll see if there's any defects throughout the whole house itself. Okay? And the appraiser won't do that. That's a whole other category, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then they will discuss with you what's wrong with the house, if there is indeed some things wrong with the house, and go over it with you. Now, you might decide that that you are only doing the home inspection for informational purposes. So you just want to make sure the house is sound, and whether or not you want to continue with the sale. All right. Prior to this seller's market, the time when a buyer will have a home inspection, or the seller would say it's only for informational purposes, is when it's a foreclosed property or it's a distressed property where they know there's a lot of things wrong with it, but they do not have the money to repair it. When I say they, I mean the seller. Okay. And the seller could be a bank, right, or a mortgage company, because it's a foreclosed property. It could be an owner as well doing a short sale, and that's a whole other cost by itself, trying to avoid going into foreclosure. And they will say, I don't have the money. I'm behind payments. That's why I'm in the short sale status. So I'm selling it as is. You could do a home inspection, but just to see if you want to continue with the sale itself. So this is done. Now, in the regular resale situation, you might find things that are wrong with it, and you say, well, let's ask the seller to make some of these repairs. And you put together a list of repairs. It's called the Property Inspection Contingency Removal Addendum. Okay? Actually, when you write the contract and you put on the contract that you want a home inspection, and there's a separate form for that. I don't know why my camera keeps on going in and out. Okay, but I apologize. But you say that you want a home inspection. That's called the Property Inspection Contingency Addendum, or the PICA for short. Okay. Once you have the home inspection and you put together that list of repairs that you want, and once it's settled, it's removing that addendum, that contingency. That's why they call it the Property Inspection Contingency removal addendum. They're taking off that contingency, and now you go straight to closing. All right. Now, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of times when these houses go into contract, and as an agent, as a realtor, I'm able to see that on the multiple listing form. It's not on the the consumer version of the MLS. I could see that, and I could see when it's contract. They most times will say home inspection on the house. Okay. And then I know that it's in contract, and it'll be under this area called contingencies. But I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that much of that. And if it's a condo, I'll see that it's been on the market, and then all of a sudden it'll say a contingency and the POA/condo, meaning that that buyer has to read the disclosure packet on that property owners association or the condo association to make sure that that buyer is happy with that packet. And happy with what? Well, it could be the financials. It could be most of the times the rules and regulations of that association. And I had one buyer who I showed her a lot of homes. We had one big issue with a foreclosure that they couldn't get settled. They couldn't really get a clear title on the house. Then we went to another home that was perfect and it was accepted, ratified. We had the home inspection. It was good. We were all in agreement on what had to be repaired. And then the packet came out and she told me, Chris, I cannot live here. I just can't live here. And with that packet, once the buyer receives it, they have a 3-day rescission period where if they read it and they say, I cannot live here, they could rescind the contract with no type of liability, with no type of obligation. They'll get back their earnest money deposit. Okay? I see that on a lot of the contract or a lot of the listings I look at. I'm not seeing that many home inspections or home inspection contingencies. And talking to other agents and reading information that I have on the various real estate websites like Inman and Housing Wire, a lot of people today are not doing the home inspection. Bad idea. Even in a competitive market, you really need to know what's wrong with that house, especially if it's an older house. And even new construction, by the way, will have issues with it. A lot of developers don't go up to code. I highly recommend, even though you may lose the deal, to do the home inspection. I mean, if you do not do the home inspection, I would let you sign a waiver saying that you were told to have a home inspection, you decided not to do it. And evidently, a lot of buyers are doing that right now. They're forgoing the home inspection. So I'm not even seeing that. I recommend that you do that, and that you make sure that the house is sound. But it's such a hot market as for really the sellers, because there's a lot of buyers out there, and not that many homes for sale. They are, the buyer doesn't want to lose the deal with having the home inspection contingency on it, because it really prolongs the purchase. Okay, even if there isn't that many things wrong with the house, and then the buyer will ask the seller to do it, and then it goes back and forth. And if the seller gets a deal, even if it's a little bit lower than yours, but there's no home inspection contingency on it, they may even go with that. Okay. When you hear the term highest and best offer, if there's multiple offers, that does not always mean the highest price. It depends what else is written in that contract and what's best for the seller. Okay? But you should always, I believe, have that home inspection on it. Okay? Unless you have lots of money and you say if there's something wrong with it, if I find out that the the HVAC system is on its last legs, I'll take care of it. All right. If you're in that type of position, then maybe you could forego a home inspection, but still, I highly recommend that. I want that to be, it's being recorded right now, and I want that to be there. Okay. So now the question comes up now is, how much do I have to renovate my house to put it on the market? Now, I'm going to show you, the text to go along with this. But bottom line, that in this type of market, you really don't have to make that much renovations. You have to determine what is the benefit to you, or what is your return on investment. Now, in most situations, if you, let's say, renovate a whole kitchen and it costs you $10,000, you're not guaranteed that that will increase the price of the home another $10,000. One appraiser that I spoke to a couple of years ago on this subject said that just you could use, like thumb of a rule, just take half the amount of that renovation. So if you put a new kitchen and you pay $10,000, look to increase the home value by $5,000 to be conservative. Now, it may be more, but it's not always dollar for dollar, or even dollar and even higher in return. All right. Same thing with detached garages. Some people decide I might put that up. A detached garage, bring more value. Has more value when it's actually attached to the house, because, we had some cold days. If it'd be nice just to go out the side of your house into your garage, get the car warmed up and leave. If you have to walk a distance to your detached garage, that's not as desirable as an attached. Okay, which a lot of times when it's attached, it has electricity. It may have a sink in there. It may have a hookup for washer and dryer. So that increases the value to the house, not so much a detached. Okay. And again, this is very subjective. All right. In fact, the appraiser who I called to, this man wanted to increase the value. He says, I have enough room in the back to put a detached garage. And the appraiser said, no, it's, it could help. But, if it's costing you, again, $10,000 do it, maybe you get $5,000 return. So a lot of times that investment that you put in there doesn't give you the return on the property. Especially if there's not really that much profit margin in the house. All right. If you have a lot of equity in a house and you want to try to get a little bit more money, you may do that. Okay. But if you're really tight, and you're thinking, all right, I'll throw in like a detached garage and I'll make an extra $10,000. I'll pay $10,000 to put it in. Most likely, you're not going to bring in that or recur that cost of putting it in. All right, so let me actually get the graphic up here, and I think I had it sharing before. I think I have to click this little thing, and I'll get rid of my little caption here. All right, and you see this nice young man there renovating. It looks like it's I would say it's probably a kitchen. But maybe not. But I see the pipes down here for, looks like for a dishwasher. But let's assume it doesn't really matter if it's a kitchen or bathroom. He's renovating, all right? I'm going to read this first paragraph and then we'll just highlight the others. When thinking about selling, let me get my little highlighter out too. That'd be nice. When thinking about selling, homeowners often feel they need to get their house ready with some remodeling to make it more appealing to buyers. However, with so many buyers competing for available homes right now, renovations may not be as vital as they would be in a more normal market. Here are two things to keep in mind if you're thinking of selling this season. And basically, this is the biggest thing. There aren't enough homes for sale right now. A normal market has about a 6-month supply for houses for sale. But today's housing inventory sits far below that benchmark. According to the Realtors Association, there is only a 1.9-month supply of homes available today. As a result, buyer competition is high, and homes are only on the market for about 21 days. Okay? We talked about that last week, the 21 days. That's really the 21 days when it really goes pending, right? The home inspection is done, and that's off, okay? And again, that might be within, let's say, 14 to 21 days of the house going to contract. And then there's a period where the bank is just doing the final paperwork on it, and then they close. Usually we close within 30 days. Yes, some banks could do it faster. They rather not, okay, because then it's rushed. And with the problems we're having with COVID-19 right now, we're not always fully staffed at different locales. So it's more difficult to do it in 21 days. Look more from 30 to 35 days. So it's a very competitive market. There are multiple offers going on houses. You really don't have to renovate unless there's something truly damaged in the house, and it may deter people from buying your house. So the upgrades are really not needed, okay? The seller can do their own upgrades after they buy it. Now, of course, again, it will always increase the value of your home, right? The market value of your home if you do the upgrade. The question is if you actually get like a dollar for dollar return on your money, okay, when you do that. And most likely, you will not. So let's look at this. When it comes to the number of home improvement projects completed, Gen Z homeowners are leading the pack, completing an average of 3.5 projects. Millennials closely follow Generation C, taking an average of 3.3 projects, followed by Generation X at 2.8. Boomers, which are like me, completed an average of 2 projects, and the silent generation completed the fewest projects on the average of a 1.8 per household, okay? Compared to 2019, millennials are spending 60% more on home improvement and doing, on average, 30% more projects. Okay? So what's happening is that the buyers, and the more younger buyers are doing it, and it's going down the road, are doing their own home improvements on the house. So many buyers are more willing to take on home improvement projects themselves in order to get the home they're after, even if it means putting in a little extra work, and they're doing that, okay? And the second part over here is what we're talking about. Focus on getting a good return on your investment. When planning any bigger projects to tackle, you and your real estate agent will want to discuss the potential return on your investment and if those projects are worth the cost. Some homes do need a kitchen or a bathroom renovation, roof repairs, or other major work, but definitely not all of them. You might be surprised by how well your house could fare in today's seller's market. Now, what I've seen when I show homes, the 3 things that home buyers are mostly concerned about when it comes to purchasing is the roof, the HVAC system, and the windows, because those are the 3 biggest things to repair if they are faulty. Okay, a new roof could go from $5,000 to $10,000. We put in our windows. God knows, it's been a long time now. I would say it might even have been, about 19 years ago when we bought our house in Virginia and we put our windows in, was about $7,000, but that's going around 2003. I would say it would be at least 10,000 now to replace all the windows. Okay, they were wooden. We put in vinyl windows. All right, so that cost goes up. So that a lot of times when buyers see a house with older windows or an older roof, they might make a lower price offer on it or ask for an allowance at closing. Maybe not for the full price of the repair, but maybe half of it. Okay, but those are the three biggest issues because in an HVAC system, if the HVAC system is at the end of its lifespan, that's another costly repair to the house. So those are the three biggest things that they look for. Now, whether or not if the kitchen is updated or the bathroom is updated and has new cabinets and nice new faucets and sinks, that's more subjective, all right? And the buyer could always say, well, I could live with this kitchen for a couple of years or this bathroom for a couple of years. But I'll buy the house, and I'll take care of the renovations myself. Now, the house that has the renovations to it will actually get a higher market price. Okay? Again, that key issue there is whether or not you're going to get the return on your investment in that. Again, if it's going to cost you $10,000 to renovate that kitchen, are you going to get an extra $10,000 back? It's very subjective. There's no definite answer because appraising is very subjective. Okay, one appraiser may go into a house and give it a certain value, and another appraiser may not. Okay, so there's no cut and dry rule to it. All right. So again, if you're in that tight situation where after selling the house, you pay the broker commissions, you pay your closing cost, depending on not you agree to give some buyer concessions. If you're really, really tight and you're thinking about like renovating a kitchen, I would be very, very careful. I would say, what do they say? Cut bait, and stop fishing and cut bait, I would be very careful about that. All right. And your real estate agent, which hopefully would be me, when it comes to comparing houses, it's not only the square footage and the amount of bedrooms and baths, but we also have to look at the photos and see if the seller has upgraded their kitchens and bathrooms to figure out how much more price that will bring you if you do those renovations. And again, it's very subjective. All right. All right, let's see. Let me go back to my page. Okay, ideally, homeowners getting ready to move should try to avoid over-investing in big renovations if they won't make that money back when they sell their house. According to the 2020 State of Home Spending report from HomeAdvisor, the average household spending on home services rose to $13,138, an increase over last year's results where homeowners who did projects spent $9,081 on average in 2019. You got to remember too, and especially because of COVID, the price of supplies have gone up. So a renovation that took place in 2019, most likely that cost of doing that same renovation will be higher. So you you really have to think over this cost. Get a good real estate agent like myself to do the cost analysis on it. You really have to look deeply at those comps to make a good decision on it if it's worth doing it. All right. Now, simple things you could do that are not costly or not as costly as a whole brand new renovation. And let me knock my on here, and we'll close this. Am I back here? All right. So my producer, Leonard Patapkin, still has the film we showed last week. And I want to show it again. It's really good. It's an old vintage film. I think it was made around 1957. It's in black and white, and it's about how to prepare your home for sale. So let me show that. We're going to end the show here. Hopefully next week I'm going to have an interview with a real estate agent up from, well, actually he's in New Jersey. We're actually friends. We could talk about how we met, and we could talk about the real estate market up north and how it's going. So that's why I have planned for next week. It should be fun. He's a great guy. He's funny too. He has a sense of humor like me, which I hope you think it's a good sense of humor. And that's what I have planned for next week. So with that in mind, Leonard, you have that film revved up for us?
Yes, Chris. Great news. We were able to find an old vintage film from the archives of the Virginia Real Estate Association. Made in 1957. It is an educational film in black and white that teaches one how to prepare his or her home for sale. It has a lot of great tips. We will load the film up on our old projector and show. Enjoy.